Hello, Taylor Elwood here, and welcome to the Sacred Masculinity Podcast. Today I want to talk about the importance of working through conflict in relationships, specifically how to use conflict to create deeper trust in relationships. So in the last couple of videos, I've been talking a lot about communication skills, relationships, and how all of these things come together. And I think it's really important to recognize that conflict is an inevitable reality with any relationship. But that doesn't mean that it has to be something which is hard to deal with. Men, in general, try to strive for what I think is like a harmonious household. They don't want to fight. They don't want to have conflict. Part of that is probably because, let's be honest here, we're dealing with a lot of competition and other things out there in the world. And so it's kind of like you want to come home and the last thing you want to do is fight. You don't want to have a conflict. And part of it is because I think that, speaking solely for myself, I think, what I've observed about myself is I'm like, hey, I want to get along with this person. I love this person. I like them. I want to be agreeable. I want to be able to say yes. And what I've come to realize is that, there's I don't want to be a doormat to be walked all over. That's not healthy for me, and it's not healthy for the person or people I'm with. I don't want to be somebody that just says yes to appease somebody else, because the fact of the matter is, when I do that, I lose respect in her eyes. And I've seen that happen. It's like I'll say something, or I'll say something, and I'll go along with, and I'll do this from a place of, well, I'm trying to go along to get along. I've seen this in previous relationships, and invariably, what ends up happening is at some point, the woman just sees through it, and she's just like, bullshit. You're not doing this to get along, or you're not agreeing with me because you really agree with me. You're agreeing with me because you don't want to fight with me. You don't want to stand up to me. You can't handle my emotions. You can't handle me. And when a man backs off from that kind of challenge, she's right. It's really important to recognize how we need to step up, and how to ground ourselves, and how to recognize that conflict can actually be healthy. I'm not saying that you want to go home and start a fight. Okay, don't watch this video and then go home and be like, all right, let's start a fight. That's not it. But what I am saying is that sometimes you're going to have conflicts happen. And the key thing is that you stay grounded as much as possible. That you do your best not to let your reactions take over. Because if you let your reactions take over and you start getting triggered and everything else, then she's going to start pushing your buttons. And it's not even necessarily that she means to. It's just, it's just the inevitable conflict between two people. One person starts pushing, the other person starts reacting. Or maybe what he'll do is he'll start calling you out on behaviors, and then you'll be like, well, and what you've got to be willing to do is you've got to be willing to take a deep breath, ground, and be present. Make a little joke if it's appropriate, because occasionally it can be, not all the time. Make sure you really listen. That's the key thing right there. We talked about listening in the previous video, but it's in the previous couple of videos, but it's really, I keep coming back to that. And the reason I keep coming back to that is because men are notorious for talking, and not listening. What your lover wants from you is your willingness to listen. It's funny because the other day I saw something on Facebook where somebody was sharing, and she said that her boyfriend asked her, like, do you want me to listen first or problem solve? And she said, I want you to be my girlfriend first, i.e. listen, and then be my boyfriend, i.e. problem solve. I thought it was kind of funny, ha ha ha, but at the same time I thought about it and I'm like, well, what I've learned is that I can definitely be part of the solution, and that is something I believe, but that the most important thing I can do in order to be part of the solution is to listen. Really listen and connect. What is it that she's saying? Or what is it that he's saying? What is it they are saying? Flipping back and forth between pronouns, because I mean, different people, right? The point is that it doesn't matter what gender the person is. What matters is that you're genuinely interested in what they're saying. You don't go in there assuming that you have to fix something. That is a mistake that a lot of men make. We think that we have to fix something. You don't have to fix anything. What you have to be willing to do is show up. And show up from a place of integrity and strength, a place of compassion and awareness, a place where the person that you're with can say, this person has my back and I feel safe. I can trust him to be there for me. That's what she wants. It's what they want, what he wants, whatever. But it's what that person wants. They want to know, I can trust this person. I can rely upon this person. I can trust that this person has my back no matter what. And I can rely upon them. And if the person you're with doesn't feel like they can rely upon you, if they don't feel like they can trust you, you know what will happen? Well, that's where the conflict may actually end up getting to the point where they don't argue with you. And that's actually not a good sign. Or they'll get really contemptuous and cruel. I've had both happen. I had a relationship where the person I was with and we never argued. We never fought. But I look back and I realize now that a big reason we never fought is that I never spoke up. Or I'd speak up, but then I would feel I would get overruled and I would get to the point where I was like, what's the use? This person isn't going to listen to me, so why even bother saying anything? So I would stop and I'd just go along with what that person wanted. And in the end, that relationship didn't work out because I really resented that person. I mean, that was one of the reasons. There were other reasons, but that was one of the reasons it didn't work out. Another relationship, the person I was with was just deliberately cruel, sarcastic, and mean, and would just twist the dagger in and be manipulative in every single way. It got me to the point where I questioned everything, where I really, for a while there, I lost my confidence in myself. You don't want either of those kinds of conflict. The kind of conflict you want is where the person is able to say, you know what, I'm feeling upset about something. I'm having a reaction here. Okay, well, let's listen to that. Let's connect. And it might get a little heated, but at the end, you're both willing to collaborate. You're ultimately using the conflict to collaborate and become closer. Because if I can trust this person to collaborate with me, if I can communicate with them and work through whatever is going on, guess what? They're going to trust me. They're going to want to be with me. They're going to ultimately feel safe, even if in the moment they don't feel safe. And let's be honest here, when we have conflicts, neither person necessarily feels safe. I mean, I don't always feel safe. Sometimes I'm afraid. Sometimes I'm scared. Sometimes I get anxious, whatever else. And those are all normal feelings, all right? I want to emphasize that. Those are all normal feelings for people to have. And it's important to recognize that you don't have to let those feelings take control. You can step back. You can go into neutral. You can acknowledge and be present with them. And you can have a moment where you don't feel safe, and you can be okay with that, and then you can work toward safety. Because safety is ultimately found in collaboration. Safety is ultimately found in communication. When I can communicate with somebody, when I can connect in a meaningful and deep way, and we can work through whatever's coming up and come out the other side closer, more intimate, more loving, then I'm doing it right. And that is possible. That is possible. It just requires a willingness to stick with it. Willingness to stick with what matters to you, which is that you want to be with this person, that you love this person, that you recognize just how important they are to you, and that you are willing to do whatever it takes to make that relationship work. And it also requires that you're in integrity with yourself and with that person. I talked about integrity in the last video, and I think it's important to come back to. We want to be in integrity with ourselves. We want to be in integrity with the person that we're with, because the moment you're out of integrity is the moment that person will not trust you. You can get back into integrity. I mean, it can be as simple as just being authentic and saying, well, I do disagree with you about this, or I wanted this thing, or whatever else. The most important thing that you can do is love that person and be honest with them. Lovingly honest. It doesn't mean you have to be cruel or brutal. It means you can connect with them in a way where they feel seen and heard, and they hopefully want to see and hear you. Now, if you want help with that, I recommend, clicking on one of the links below in my description there, or reach out, because I'm happy to help you with this kind of work. The most important thing to remember is that you can make it work. Stick with it. Believe in yourself. Believe in your capacity to show up with love with the people that you really want to be with. All right, thanks for watching, and have a great day.